another all-time high in May, signals to me as this is a full-blown run on physical metal. And what happens with the economy? One where I think inflation is just getting started, and that's maybe why the big money is in, partially why.
Something is happening on the COMEX that's never been seen before. The smart money is rushing to take physical gold and silver in record-breaking amounts. Why are they doing it? What do they know that you don't? Andy Schectman says this is a major red flag for the paper financial system and a sign of what's coming next. You can't afford to miss this.
So there will be volatility, no question. The central bank buying hasn't stopped. But I think it's important to understand that this isn't stopping in the United States either, at least at a level above you and I. The May COMEX contract had over 16,000 contracts stand for delivery. That smashes the previous record, which was in March. The most number of contracts in history written after the first day of notice, which typically those contracts stand for delivery, ever. And what that signals to me is this is a full-blown run on physical metal. At the same time, you see SOMA, the Federal Reserve group that comes in. It's kind of like the group that comes in quietly and stealthily and supports the market by, I don't know, $50 billion worth of 3 and 10-year treasuries. So to attempt to bring down the yield on the 3 and the 10-year, but they keep going up even with that. So what you are seeing in many respects, in my mind, is at the highest level, a shedding of treasuries or a lack of demand for it, for sure, because we're supposed to, if you ask ChatGPT, is the Federal Reserve quantitative easing right now? And they'll say, no, they're quantitatively tightening. But that's silly when you see them come in and quietly buy, $50 billion worth of 3 and 10-year treasuries and call it something else. It's quantitative easing. They're printing money to buy treasuries. And so I think this time is just, anytime you hear this time it's different, it's usually not. But there are things that are very different about the way the markets are behaving right now, not only in the lack of demand for the treasury, but also in the demand for delivery in metals that has not abated one bit. And here again in the May contract, we're seeing that not just in gold. Almost 14,000 contracts have been delivered in silver, another all-time high in May. So, you're talking gold and silver that are being controlled by the futures market, but are using that subsidy, if you will, the smart people are, and standing for delivery in levels and amounts that the COMEX has never seen before. This is being ignored far too much as far as I'm concerned. I think it certainly shows the pathway to where the biggest money think things are going. You don't see money like this standing for that kind of delivery in the billions of dollars if they are not convinced that holding it physically is prudent, number one, and number two, that it is perhaps moving in a upward trajectory over time. No, I think you said it very well. Not only that, people don't get out of the way of what they never see coming. And so much of this is being whitewashed with rhetoric by the media and the mainstream. And of course, just the overall psyche that the people in this market have lived through for a long time, waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's interesting that, now we're beginning to see the risk-on trade start to rear its head again. It's as if everyone has such a short-term frame of reference. It's, shedding treasuries and going in and buying the Mag 7, I guess. This is an environment not for the faint of heart. This is an environment that I think ultimately will be very volatile, but it's also one where if we believe that they were going to get their fiscal house in order a la Doge, then why the heck is this the fourth highest budget coming, the proposed budget in history, and why are they asking to raise the debt ceiling again? So in other words, it's as if they've given up on inflation. They're giving up on maybe the Fed. It appears as though they're giving up on their dual mandate of stable prices a la low inflation and controlling interest rates and what happens with the economy. It's as if they're trying so hard to push interest rates down at the expense of inflation. But interestingly enough, the market's really not behaving the way the 10-year yield keeps creeping higher, even in the face of them continuing to buy copious amounts of treasuries to do the opposite. It's an interesting environment, one where I think inflation is just getting started, and that's maybe why the big money is in, partially why the big money is in such a hurry, such a rush to to accumulate gold, but very much so under the scenes. I mean, I think the message is loud and clear. There's loss of faith within the system. There seems to be loss of faith in all of these systems, whether it be the treasury market, the government itself, the COMEX, the LBMA. There's a loss of confidence and a loss of faith. And when the unfortunate truth is that in a system that is all based upon faith, once you lose it, it's very difficult to get it back. And I think we have. And maybe that's why there is and it's not just here in the United States, we're seeing physical delivery everywhere across the globe, certainly through all the BRICS nations. Look at Poland. They said they wanted to have 20% gold backing, and they're already up to 22%. Now, that seems like a little bit, that 2% overshoot, but central banks don't do that. That's intentional. They are realizing that the system itself, I think, has lost a lot of credibility and lost a lot of trust, and they're standing for delivery. That's why you're seeing things being, drained out of the LBMA as an example, which was a T+1 exchange that went all the way up to T+8 weeks because of such strain on delivery. And they cite a lack of trucks and manpower, which is silly. But this is not just here in the United States. It's everywhere. And I think that's what it boils down to. You can trust the system, leave it in paper, and leave it in a facility or in a ecosystem where arguably it's rehypothecated substantially, several hundred ounces or several hundred pieces of paper per ounce. Or you can take physical possession of it and remove completely and totally that counterparty risk. That is what it signals. And I think that's a bigger piece. I started talking about that with you a few years ago on the central bank level. Why are they all bringing it home from the Bank of England and the New York Federal Reserve, supposedly the epicenters of free trade and safety? And the answer is exactly the same thing. It's a lack of trust. And I think it's very important. I also think it says something about where gold and silver are actually going and how they are being viewed by the biggest money, that it's something that they would rather leave at home or in their own custody, because perhaps it has something to do with being reintegrated into a new monetary agenda. I mean, that's deep down how I feel, and I think it's actually very logical what's happening. Certainly, you even saw the Japanese finance minister more or less threaten the $1 trillion in treasuries they're holding as a kind of as a bargaining chip. And again, you're seeing all of these countries in the Asiatic countries, in particular China, Japan, South Korea, the former adversaries, now joining together to reduce reliance on the United States and of the dollar, and this is de-dollarization on a global scale. You're seeing just over the last couple of years, the Reserve Bank of India has doubled their gold reserves from 2.5 years ago. And you look at what China is doing. I mean, look, first of all, the amount of gold that China has is far more than they lead on to, as far as I'm concerned. And I mean, there's all sorts of evidence that points to that. They've opened up their insurance industry into buying gold, and albeit just a very small percentage. If they open it up even on a broader scale, the amount is extraordinary in terms of how much that they could actually bring in. We just talked about Poland and the amount of gold that they're bringing in, and now you have China that is at the same time allowing their banks or accelerating their accumulation through their banks by raising import quotas and allowing those banks to buy more U.S. dollars first to fund these purchases, which kind of, it's a dual move in the respect that first it meets the demand for more gold, the surging demand, but it also subtly reins in the yuan's appreciation against the dollar, which is something that I think Trump doesn't like, but that's a strategic move. And it's a hedge against not only the global volatility by accumulating all the gold, but also it signals ultimately a shift away from dollar dependence. So in the twist, they buy dollars to slowly depreciate the yuan, and then use those dollars to buy gold, and have upped and doubled the import quota. So they're slowly, they do things very methodically, not too fast to rattle the boat. They could have, everyone says, well, why not just buy it all at once? Because they would have cut off everything right there. Instead, they've been slowly and methodically on all different levels, from their insurance companies to here upping the quotas on the banks, to state-sponsored accumulation programs through the Shanghai Metals Exchange. And now they're even going as far as trying to internationalize the yuan and gold settlement through the Shanghai Metals Exchange by opening other Shanghai hubs. First one is in Hong Kong. They're talking about doing one in Saudi Arabia and in other countries. Part of their renminbi cross-border payment system that we've talked about, where they will trade in local currencies across this hub, this bridge, which is the M-Bridge technology, the technology that settles in 7 seconds instead of 3 to 5 days through SWIFT, at a 98% reduction in cost, and then settle imbalances in gold. And that is ultimately what they're trying to do. The two pushbacks that people gave about the BRICS is, one, they won't internationalize their yuan. This is what they are doing now. They're talking of opening up all of these hubs on behalf of the Shanghai Metals Exchange in these member countries in an effort to settle imbalances right then and there over the bridge network. And the second thing that is game-changing on all of this, and needs to be said over and over and over again, and I have a habit of doing that, I've done that forever, but it's a narrative I want to drill it into people's head. The other pushback was that, well, it's just not a big enough block. Well, the fact that they are now opening up the bridge network to non-member countries like the Belt Road and the Shanghai Cooperation Organization and the Eurasian Economic Union and these ASEAN countries and the Middle East countries, you're talking potentially north of 90% of human population that will be able to trade outside of SWIFT over the bridge network, settle in 7 seconds with a 98% reduction in fees, no Western interference, and then settle imbalances in gold. That's where we're going. You can see this is the plan that they have, and doing it very subtly. But it's not just China that's doing it. You're seeing all of these countries accumulate gold, all of them. And the countries they're associated with are very resource rich in all forms of commodities, many of them underdeveloped, but that's the whole point of the Belt Road. This whole thing is connected, and it's starting to accelerate. And maybe that's the realization that the Trump administration knows. And that's why they're hell-bent on accumulating commodities the way that they have been here in the country, and then also delivering them and not leaving them in paper so they can just float right back to England or Switzerland through exchange for physical or whatever the other vehicles that are available to the traders around the globe. Maybe that's why they're moving them into eligible, out of registered, or even taking them off the exchange so that they're no longer free game to be traded and sent backwards.
If this shook you even a little, you need to stay ahead. Like this video, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss critical updates like this. This isn't just information, it's a warning. Stay alert, stay prepared. We'll see you in the next one.